All the way back in Genesis 1, we find one of the most radical ideas in all of human history. It transformed how emperors punish criminals. It inspired the first arguments against slavery, and today it still shapes our understanding of what makes us, us. And that idea comes from these lines. God created humanity in his own image. In the image of God, he created them.
But strangely, the Bible only uses this phrase 6 times, and it barely explains what it means. So for thousands of years, Christians have wrestled with this mystery. What does it actually mean to be made in the image of God?
In the ancient world, most gods were basically superhumans. Immortal, stronger, faster than us. They were powerful, but still inside the system of nature. But the God of the Bible was completely different. He wasn't part of the universe, but the very source of it. Invisible, unimaginable, beyond comprehension, an infinite mystery. And this led to a radical new idea for Christian thinkers. If we are made in the image of an incomprehensibly mysterious God, then human beings are also incomprehensibly mysterious.
That's kind of intuitive. There always seems to be more to everyone we meet.
Exactly. Gregory of Nyssa, a 4th century thinker from Cappadocia, pushed this idea even further. He believed that because humans are made in the image of God, mysterious and beyond understanding, they can never ever be fully explained. And this unknowability is actually what makes us like God.
That's so different to how we think about humans today. We believe that if we can just map the 86 billion neurons in our brain or sequence our entire DNA, we'll finally get to the bottom of what we are. We can explain everything there is to a human being if we can understand all the complex systems at play with psychology, biology, chemistry, and so on. But what are we? Are we just animals or complicated meat computers? Why do we dream? Why do we think, create, search for meaning?
Well, when Genesis was written, lots of people already knew what an image of a god was. It was a statue in a temple. You would go and worship the image. Ancient kings also used it as a title for themselves. The king was the image, and he was the representative of the gods, and everybody else was just a tool to help him build his monuments and his cities.
But to say God created humanity in his own image, it does something different. The image is not just a statue of a god or of a king, but humanity. Every single person is a living representative of God, the King of the universe. And so how you treat them becomes how you treat God.
And because of this, Christian thinkers became convinced that every single person should be treated with infinite value.
And if you think about it, that's actually a really weird thing to say. Because if you look around, some people are stronger, smarter, taller, richer, more beautiful, more powerful. The idea that everyone is equally valuable isn't actually that obvious. That's why this idea was so radical.
But if every human being is an image of God, then something about human history becomes really confusing. Because for most of human history, some human beings have treated each other as just things, as property. If Christians really believed every human represented God, why didn't Christians abolish something like slavery immediately?
Yeah, that's a fair point. But ideas can take a long time to take root, especially powerful ones. In the year 315, the Emperor Constantine, the first Christian emperor, passed a law making it illegal to disfigure the faces of criminals because every human being, even the most hated people in society, were formed in the likeness of heavenly beauty and should not be dishonored. At a similar time, Gregory of Nyssa did something unheard of. He delivered a sermon attacking slavery itself. Gregory argued that because humans are made in the image of God, they are fundamentally free, like God is. That's why all forms of slavery were a violation of God's plan. They should never be bought or sold. Humans are beyond any price. He said that when you condemn a man to slavery, you legislate against God, overturning his law for the human race.
So basically, slavery is a rebellion against God.
Yeah, exactly. For Gregory, the image of God that unites all humans is stronger than any differences that divide us, and not to recognize that was an atrocity. Another Christian philosopher called Lactantius put it like this: "We must show humanity if we want to deserve the name of human beings." And showing humanity means loving our fellow human beings because they are human beings, just as we are ourselves. Unfortunately, their ideas didn't catch on with the empires of the age, and slavery wasn't abolished. But they did plant an uncomfortable seed in the minds of Christians everywhere. The conversation went quiet for a while. But then in the 1500s, the Spanish Empire began conquering the Americas. They did what every empire had done before. They enslaved, exploited, and killed the native people they found. They did horrific things, and a lot of them did it in the name of Jesus. And there were lots of Christian leaders at the time who thought this was completely unacceptable. On December 21st, 1511, there was a priest called Anton Montesino who gave an intense sermon to Spanish merchants denouncing everything they were doing. He said, "With what right, with what justice do you hold these Indians in such cruel and horrible slavery? Are they not men? Do they not have rational souls? Are you not obliged to love them as yourselves? Don't you understand this?" This sermon was really controversial and nobody really listened to him at first. But there was another priest in the crowd who was listening.
Yeah, his name was Bartolomé de las Casas. He was originally a farmer in the Caribbean who owned slaves who worked on his farm like everyone else. He heard Montesino's sermon but wasn't convinced at first. But then one day in 1514, he was preparing a sermon of his own and read a passage in his Bible which terrified him. To take away a neighbor's living is to commit murder. To deprive an employee of wages is to shed blood. Suddenly, he saw the entire Spanish conquest of the Americas in a new light. He became convinced that what he was doing was wrong, an abomination against God. Every slave was an image of God and destined for freedom, and so he began a campaign to free all slaves in the entire Spanish Empire. His arguments made their way all the way to the center of the Catholic Church. In 1536, Las Casas went to a council of Christians in Mexico and put together a case for freeing all slaves. A year later, the Pope was convinced and published an official document called an encyclical denouncing slavery, saying that no human being should ever be deprived of liberty or be enslaved, Christian or not. This was the first time a human institution ever denounced slavery, and this has been the Roman Catholic position ever since.
Unfortunately, European slavery still continued for another 300 years or so. It took the British and French empires longer to come to that same conclusion. But Las Casas' thinking inspired later Protestant Christians like William Wilberforce in Britain to fight tirelessly against slavery for almost 50 years until it was eventually abolished in 1833.
There was another question that Christians tried to answer about the image of God. If humans reflect God, how exactly do we do that? And over time, 3 ways kept coming up. Creativity was one way. In Genesis 1, God was creating, so it makes sense that we would image him by doing something similar. We make beautiful art, music, buildings, and literature. When we do this, we are reflecting in a small way God's infinite creativity. Free will is another way we image God. We're not just robots doing what we're programmed to do, but we're free, able to choose between good and evil, capable of making moral choices. But this has its risks.
With great freedom comes great responsibility.
Exactly. Another way Christians have said we image God is through our reason, the ability to think and consider. This one is connected to free will because we need to be able to weigh up different options to make real choices. It's also connected with creativity because God didn't just create the world randomly, but made it with a sense of order. In the same way, humans can image God by asking why about everything and to see order in chaos.
I've heard something like that before, but isn't it saying that people who aren't able to think, like babies or mentally disabled people, aren't in the image of God? That they're not quite human? That seems like a dangerous idea.
Yeah, that would be a dangerous idea, but Christians generally don't believe that anyone can lose the image of God. If you're human, you will always be the image. You can think about it like this. For Christians, who you are is not just about what you are right now, but what you were created to become. And God created humans to be creative, to be free, and to reason. And so even if someone can't use them right now, it's still part of who they are and what they are. But in this world, things aren't always as they should be.
Some people can be born without reason or lose it because of an illness. Others could be deprived of their creativity or freedom. People can also use their reason and creativity to invent and build terrible things, and they can use their freedom to do even worse things. And this can lead to a massive identity crisis. If part of the image of God is about how we act in the world, and we behave like monsters, do we lose the image then?
Well, no. All it means is that something isn't quite right in the world and with us and how we live out being an image. It means that we can't fully know what we are just by looking at what we do. We're trying to reconstruct a masterpiece from a pile of broken tiles, and so we can't really know what we were meant to be. There have been billions of humans, but never a perfect one.
Well, at least not until the New Testament. In the New Testament, the conversation about the image of God completely changes. It becomes all about Jesus. He is called the image of the invisible God. Basically, he gives the invisible and incomprehensible God a face. But not just that, he gave humanity a face.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Jesus didn't just show us what God is like. He also showed us what a real human is like, what a human being was always meant to be. That's why the Bible calls him the second Adam, a new vision of being human. And that means if you want to know what a human truly is, what the image of God really looks like, you can't just look at history or biology or the human brain. You have to look at Jesus, because only Jesus shows us what it means to be fully alive. By being the perfect image of God, he was also the perfect image of a human being.
And that picture was really quite beautiful. He wasn't like the ancient kings who tried to be the image of God by being powerful and building monuments.
Exactly. Instead, as a human, Jesus loved the poor, welcomed the outcast, healed the sick, and humbled himself even to the point of death on a cross. His body was broken, and that image forever changed what it meant to be human. It means no one is any less human when they suffer, or even when they die. It means that when we serve others, when we love the poor, when we live with humility, we are becoming more human, not less, because we are becoming like the perfect human. And it also means that humans can truly be united with God, because in Jesus, humanity and divinity are perfectly joined, and even death is not the end. That's why Christians see becoming like Jesus as the ultimate way we image God. From the very beginning, God created us so that our humanity is fulfilled and perfected as we follow him. So the image of God is not meant to turn us inwards. It's meant to lift our eyes and find our identity in the source of all meaning and purpose.
So, for Christians, the image of God is about who we are, mysterious and infinitely valuable. It's about how we live as free, thinking, creative beings. But it's also about our destiny to become more and more like Jesus each and every day. In his humanity, we discover our own. That is the goal of human existence, not just to live, but to become truly human. And that's what being made in the image of God is all about.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Christian Story. If you want to go deeper into the ideas and research behind this video, download our deep dive PDF for free. Christian Story is a crowd-funded project where everything we make is made possible with the generous support of viewers like you. So if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, you can start giving on our website today. Every donation helps. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It would really help us out.